everybody, and welcome to the first ever live podcast of One Salty Cult. What's up, Chris?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Holy shit, we made it, guys. Oh, I should probably read this little disclaimer first. But before we even start, Anthony Smith from Entering the Black Hole is here. We have Chris Fioravanti from the Experience with Chris Fio. I'm going to give you a little bit of information in just a second on all that. So I've got a little thing I want to read to you guys because we're a little bit of a different show than the Amplified Network has had on before. And as Anthony said previously, not you, Anthony, the other Anthony.
Yeah, my bad.
Basically, we're going to tell you to fuck off a lot. It's just going to happen. We say a lot of bad language on this show. So you want me to read it like the first time ever on script? Because that's the whole thing. I'm about to be scripted, guys, for the first time in the history of ever.
Well, then script it away.
All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the first ever live podcast with One Salty Cult. We are so excited that you're here on the Amplified Networks, where we are now. We are a satirical and honest show based on current events and stuff going on with our lives. As with every show I am on, I'm always joined with Chris Fio, and he's currently on a show, The Experience with Chris Fio, coming out February 20th. Of 2020, did I get that date right, Chris?
No. There's February. We haven't put an exact date on there, so it's not the 20th. It's just during February. When we get close to the date, we're gonna pick a date that day.
Right.
It's
How
February
many?
20.
That's very cool, dude. And I'm also with. He's not a regular on the show. He's just guesting tonight because our other co-host is still going to be on soon. Hopefully, we don't really know what's going on with that. But we also have Anthony Smith.
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
From the most derogatory podcast in all of Orlando, Entering the Black Hole with Rick and Anthony.
Yeah, they shouldn't have never put me behind the mic. I swear to God. Oh, boy, it's terrible.
We
We're the worst.
But you do a lot of good work for the show. I hear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, our show is, is dynamic. Thank you by Aaron, because Aaron helps us out. But, yeah, we do pretty good, but it's still the worst shit show you ever heard.
But you got big guests every time. I look. You have some big name on there. A producer that I've never heard of, but apparently has a lot of influence in the game.
Jack Bradshaw, yes,
Yep.
It was a very good show.
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
And you guys got game. What you do? You guys got a lot of followers, and how many episodes are you up to now?
201.
201.
Yeah.
With the newest episode title of Middle School Necrophilia.
Whatever, man. Fuck you, okay? Just whatever. All right, but go ahead, brother. This is your show now.
No, man. Tell us a little bit about Entering the Black Hole.
Well, Entering the Black Hole is, and don't go by the name. I know it sounds like it's like some pornographic or some science thing. It's not. It's a comedy podcast where basically we get drunk and talk shit. That's all we do. That's what we do. We get drunk and talk shit, and occasionally we'll have some surprise guests, and with our third mic, Aaron, or our other third mic, which is Colombian Poppy. We all have fun. We all try to make light of any situation. We don't care what it's about. I know there's some tragic things that go on, but we'll talk about that shit too and just have fun. That's it.
I mean, the other episode we did the other night was really real. Like,
Yeah.
it was a no bullshit show. While it has that silly name,
Right.
it doesn't have the content of that show was real.
I heard the
those.
name, the origins of the name of the show when I interviewed Rick. He
Right.
told me that it came from the laptop camera that y'all first started out with.
No, actually, Rick exaggerates.
Oh.
The name of the show was originally called Entering the Wormhole, but when we went on the internet, so many people had it that we couldn't use it. So he was like, well, we need to come up with something. And then he looked at the laptop and saw the black hole. And he said, let's call it Entering the Black Hole. And then we searched for that. And so nobody had it. So we took it.
Oh, wow. That's really freaking cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, originally he said you all were going to be a science-based podcast at first.
It was. Until our first guest. And then it turned into a comedy podcast from that point forward.
Was that the moment y'all knew, all right, we're...
Yeah, because we were assholes. We got drunk one day, and then he had Molly, and then it was all over. You know what I'm saying?
I just want to point this out. YouTube actually has the Welcome to Mollywood episode.
Oh, it's still up there?
It's still on YouTube. So
really-
you know what?
Welcome to Mollywood? What
Yeah,
is
that
this?
was their first episode ever, and I never
No, that's
heard
not
the
the first.
one.
That's the first one he did as a music podcast. He did that.
Okay.
Mollywood. We always had Entering the Black Hole. That was always there. But Mollywood is just strictly music.
Oh, is
it?
Okay.
Yeah, and then we talk and banter. He did most of the talking because that was his show.
If you audience don't know, Entering the Black Hole, they take sound clips from their show and make trap music with it.
They
You want
even
to fill us in with that?
most of the time the trap remixes is about me. Something that I did. One of the funniest ones they did was when we was doing the very first hot sauce challenge. And when we did that, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this at all. And he was like, you being a bitch and you doing this. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care. I'm not putting this stuff in my mouth. And he was taking all the stuff I was saying. And then I was like, I got moobs too. He's like, you got boobs, man. You act like a booby. I was like, well, I got moobs too. And then he cut that out and then he put it all together. It was a terrible, embarrassing thing. It was so embarrassing my kids were laughing. So, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Recently, Rick did the same thing to me, and he actually put it
yeah.
at the beginning of our he took actually audio clips from One Salty Cult and made a trap remix
Yes,
of
he
it.
did.
It is one of the most evil fucking things I've ever heard. Remember when I said you can get that meth in that little house of yours when we were talking about Starbucks or something, and that meth house blew up behind? Remember that story? It's like I know it was like 4 months ago or something like that. But he made a full-on goddamn remix, and the only place that you are is doing your silly fucking laugh in the background.
Yeah, he did that.
It was so maniacal. I mean,
Gotta
it
watch your
bumps,
voice.
man. It
Yeah.
bumps. It like if I'm driving through Pine Hills, I'm getting shot at.
Shoot. If anybody out there doesn't know, Rick Emerson is also the host of Entering the Black Hole
Yeah.
with Anthony Smith.
Yeah, he's the ugly white guy while I'm the ugly black guy. So you got two ugly people behind the mic. That's why we don't never do camera, because we don't like to see our faces, because we know if we look at each other, well, he's kind of attractive. I don't know. What's up, brother?
All right, and we're also going to talk about Chris Fio because I owe him a bit of time. Your episode is dropping this week under the Salty Aaron Show. It is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I've cut another 45 minutes off on top of that.
Oh, wow.
And it sounds like a goddamn Joe Rogan podcast.
I didn't
So
realize
get
we were
ready
I
to.
didn't realize we were talking that long.
Yes, it was a very long time, surprisingly, during that whole bit. So that's
and it
a
was
Salty
late as
Aaron
hell,
show.
too.
Huh?
It was late as hell, too.
Oh, and we lost a lot of brain cells on that show. You could tell at the beginning that we were perfectly fine.
We were awake.
We were awake, and then all of a sudden, we were
Half
death
asleep.
episode. No, we were death episode, stoned out of our goddamn minds. It was atrocious how bad the ending of our episode is.
Oh, boy.
But
that
don't
was
worry, I
the
made some of that
early
disappear.
days. That was like when we were still like recording down in the dumps. This was way before we even started these projects, too.
So I guess we could actually go to the little bit of the origins of One Salty Cult, since
Yeah.
this is like a new market,
No.
So
All right.
what do you think, Chris?
Well, if that's up to you, man. If
Hey
you
man,
want to.
honestly, we got 3 news stories of basically what we're gonna do.
I mean, we're new in this whole realm of YouTube.
Yeah,
and
I
Twitch.
know. If you guys are out there, thank you for watching this already. That's pretty cool that somebody actually gives a shit about us.
Exactly, because
yeah.
I don't give a shit about him.
And that's exactly why he's here, because he was a last minute guest and he was all I could book. So oh, don't worry. Me and
I was the
Anthony,
8th choice.
me and Anthony go hard into each other and entering the black hole. My God, that relationship is damning. I feel like
I don't. Well, not. I don't want to talk about. This is your show. I don't want to talk about my show. Nope.
Okay.
all right, Chris. Why don't you tell us about the beginning of One Salty Cult?
Oh, the beginning of One Salty Cult. You hit me up one day needing a co-host because I'm guessing you weren't able to find one who was really reliable, and we started.
That's 5 times over. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, I know. My
You
bad.
know I had a joke for that one, right?
Oh yeah, all Anthony had to do was look at me. I picked up the cue. It was either he was going to make the joke first or I was. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's my style. I usually, remind you of the bad times. Leave a sour taste in your mouth sometimes.
Right.
But anyways,
Yeah, fuck you for that.
yeah, you're welcome, man. We started out just, hashing out ideas for the name while we were, talking on the podcast. We were like dumpster fire, down in the dumpster fire, and then we just threw the fire
Down in the
website.
dumps, I believe, was the first version. And honestly, if I remember correctly, I was trying to do like 5 shows at once. And this would be right before I started entering the black hole.
Right.
So I had a lot of the extra free time and whatnot at that juncture, and I had Uncomfortably Close,
Yeah.
which was a
I never
comedian's
even heard of it.
Yeah, we recorded 1 episode, and actually recorded 2 episodes, and essentially through that I found we started talking to comedians off stage. So it
Okay.
was, you remember what David Jolly was like off stage?
Oh yeah. Oh boy, that guy is crazy, man.
He's
After
honestly
after the alcohol hits him, oh boy, he is a different man.
Isn't that the case with everyone?
Oh, but he goes beyond. Okay,
Dude,
that dude is Superman, and then he is Bizarro. Yo, he changes.
Oh, God.
I
If
love
you've
him. I
never
think he's a
seen
great
David
guy.
Jolly live doing stand-up, it is watching the most beautiful thing in the world, and then getting him off stage. It's just watching the most awful thing in the world happen because that's David Jolly.
Sounds like you're fantasizing a little bit.
No, I'm not. David Jolly is the.
He's a funny dude, and when he crashes and burns, is the funniest thing alive. He is. That's him. He'll do his bit and crash. That's how he works. It's hilarious. I love him.
He's
So-
like Icarus every time.
So we were doing a shitload of I was doing a shitload of podcasts. I mean, like stuff that would have like 1 or 2 episodes.
Right.
You know, like tester episodes, like a pilot episode, see if it would work. And I really liked the concept of it. And I kind of wrangled Chris up because he was going to a lot of the open mic. We were hanging out a lot at that time. And
You heard I had a previous podcast experience too, so you were like, fuck it.
yeah, you were on another show. That show doesn't need to be talked about.
No.
And basically, he had quit that, and we ended up doing Down in the Dumps, which was basically like after like 5 days of podcasting, that was the dump.
I
You
was
would just
honestly-
throw all the bullshit that happened throughout
Right.
the week, and it was. I mean, the idea of the show was good, but all the other fucking podcasts didn't happen. They all got dumped. So Chris and I were just left standing with no material, you know, for a show
Right.
that was about reflecting on podcasting for the last whatever some number of days.
I was honestly iffy a little at first, just due to like my experience with the other show. So I was like, I don't think he's gonna be consistent with me here, but
Right.
you pulled through on that one though.
It was strange because we had so many different concepts for the show. Like we started out, it was going to be a weekly round talk. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
get everybody together and you talk about your podcasting experiences, your media events. It was just people like a show to decompress after a week. So you could have a comic on. you could
Aaron's
have
therapy.
Huh?
Aaron's therapy.
Yeah, it was basically one of those. But the idea of the original show was we would get people who were on mic all week long doing something,
Right.
like whether doing stand up for the week or doing Chris doing his
Experience with Chris Vio.
yeah, all this kind of shit. You know, it was a place
Right.
that we could just at the end of the week go, all right, we can take off our big boy pants now and just sit and complain and bitch and do all the funny things. It was just like a podcast of Circle Jerk. It's honestly what show 200 would have been.
Okay. Like I was-
Honestly, you get a bunch of people together and you just basically end all be all. Yes, and Chris has his own show. I said it 3 or 4 times already. You
Yes.
already got the name drops. I mean, I don't think Ant has that many name drops on his fucking show. Entering the black hole, entering the black hole, entering the black hole. Cry, Chris. We have the Chris experience with Theo.
The experience with Chris Vio. Yes.
That was a ramble. I'm sorry. I was running out of air, and that was the easiest way to exit.
Slow down, young one.
Not with that Red Bull. He ain't gonna slow down. You know?
I am achieving greatness, guys. Go ahead,
All right.
please.
And
Back
about
to you.
All right, and about the pot. Are we talking about this podcast or my podcast?
I don't know. The show's kind of going all off the chain
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, well, go ahead, Chris. This is your show.
All right, basically, I'll get to how the origins of this show because he went off on a rant. We started off as Down to the Dumps, like he said, went to Dumpster Fire. Then we were trying to be the one salty cult.
I think the Salty Bastards was
the salty
original-
bastards,
Oh my
the
God.
salty
And
bastards.
Yeah.
And he was just like, fuck, the name's not right all the time. I'm like, all right, just what do you want to call it? And he was like, I don't know, man. Give me a minute. He's like, cult. No, wait, cult. Huh? One salty cult. I'm like, I thought he was having a stroke for a minute. But, he really came up with the name out of fucking nowhere. And I was like, all right, I like it. So what cult shit are we going to talk about here?
Well, you know what's crazy is that he's had multiple podcasts and it always has some sort of salt in it. Okay,
I know.
With the exception of JFE, everything was one salty this. His name, when I met him, was Saltine. He got a whole bunch of salt and everything. I guess it's because of his color of his skin. I don't know.
No, the origins of Saltine is that in college, it became a running joke because I always wore a beanie or I was always listening to some kind of weird, raged out trap music or
And
kinda
that changed?
Huh?
That changed? You still got a beanie on your head.
Yeah, well, I kind of
I used to have a beanie while wearing a beanie.
It's a beanieception, guys. Here we are. All right. Basically, I created this joke for stand-up being a basically an Eminem copy. Like what was the Miami movie? about the white rapper who thought he was the shit.
Oh,
and,
you
like,
talking about
Malibu's Most Wanted?
Yeah, that's on.
Basically,
that
I had
movie.
created a version of that, and Saltine was a bit that I did on stage.
Right.
So,
I could see that. I could see you as Malibu's Most Wanted.
thanks, Chris. That's such a great thing, because these
Comedy
Uzis.
style.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I would do a concept character.
Right.
And I'd get up there and I'd do a little rapping, trying to be funny and shit. And I mean, I was running 10-minute sets, 15-minute sets, and the character kind of stuck for a little while. So, and then years go by, nobody's called me Salty or Saltine or anything like that. It just, the name stuck, and it's coarse, and you can't live without me.
There you go. You need to
And
call
that's
him
the
Saltine
essence
from
of
this
salt.
point
You
forward.
need it to survive. Iodine, you need it to survive, but it's coarse and hard to sometimes swallow if it's big enough.
And it gives you a heart attack if you eat enough.
Yeah, just like I'm going to pop out right now. I think this is like my 6th fucking Red Bull today.
Jesus, I thought you had quit.
Yeah, I got
That
hard in
only
my
lasted,
addiction
what, 2
again.
days, right?
Yeah, that was
over
like,
2 days.
I'm going to quit smoking, guys. Okay, I'm back to smoking, guys. That's about as quick.
Highly addictive personality here.
All right, so we're going to kind of jump into the show now.
Okay.
A version of the show, I guess.
We're going to talk about topics and stuff.
Yeah, topics. So
So don't judge us or him or them on this first episode.
Bas-
Come back again.
We won't pontificate on anything.
Right. It's just a brand new, the first time we're doing it, and we're getting to know us, them, you, everybody.
Yeah.
So don't knock the first show.
Yeah. We're getting our feet wet here.
That's
right. You guys
Well,
have
they
no
are.
idea how. Okay, Mr. Bloated fucking over super fucking star now. Jesus Christ.
Well, thank you,
Goddamn high horse, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks for coming down to us lowly people in
Yeah,
the
right.
podcast game.
You plebeians. Hello.
Oh, you fucking peasants. Jeez.
I
All
gotta
right,
soil
so-
my hands.
We got some weird stories that I came up with today that I had found browsing the wonderful internet, as I do. And basically, we're going to talk about it.
Boy, do you. What? I'll be at work and you'll be sending me shit all day.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think it's bad with you, you should see the...
Oh, Rick told me how bad it is with him. That was funny. I was
Oh
like,
my
oh,
God.
really?
There's no prep work.
No, there's no prep
no
work.
prep work.
That's just everything
It's
you text
basically
him.
the whole day from like 10 to 6 p.m. is me trashing the other third mic on my show.
Oh my God! Him
It
and
is a
Columbia Poppy be
relentless,
going
brutal
at
battle.
it. I be like, sometimes because they keep going back and I keep getting the notifications, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna cut this shit off because there's like 20 of them, and I'm at work and I can't answer my phone anyway, and all you hear is ding, ding, ding. One time he just kept doing that, and my manager is looking at me like, why your phone going off? I mean, like, because this dickhead on my phone is constantly arguing with the other dickhead on my phone, and they're going back and forth, and that's why you keep hearing all the dings. He's like, well, you got to turn it off. I was like, I can't turn off my phone because I have my kids. One of my kids was sick, and I got to make sure I get the message, and I can't turn it off. And I was like, you know what? Fuck y'all.
Man, you be inconveniencing the shit out of this man.
Oh yeah, I am a thorn in Anthony and Rick's side. They hired me, and now I've just become
know what I'm saying?
a thorn in their ass. Basically, it's great, so wonderful.
You're a piece of shit.
I really am.
You
And-
be
and-
making it hard for this man to have kids.
No,
okay.
I have kids. I ain't having no more. I'm done. That's it.
But here's the irony of how, like, if his manager was to pick up his phone, I know he wouldn't,
Right.
but if he was to pick up his phone, unlock it, and see the things that me and this dude are saying to each other, they are the worst. It's Roastmaster status. It's Jeff Ross. It's aggressive. Like, I will support Trump if he
I was
Yeah.
sometimes I gotta tell Aaron to bring it back a little bit because Aaron goes on a tirade and he will not stop. I mean, like, so at one point, and I talked to Rick about this. At one point, this could start a fight. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like this. I mean, I'm reading. I'm like, yeah, they joke. We know they joking. Everybody know we're
Yeah.
having fun. But I was like, sometimes when you say things, I be like, Man, if I saw you in my face and you said this shit, I'd have punched in your eye. I'm like, yo,
This
that's
is real deal gangster shit. I mean,
like, yo.
this be fighting words. you know?
Keyboard gangster shit.
Oh yeah, but as soon as we get in the same room, we're like, you ever seen that the dogs
they're
are
cool.
fighting in between a fence and then the fence is opening?
Oh, I saw that.
You know,
Jeff.
and then as soon as the fence is totally retracted, the dogs are all like, "Hey guys, it's all go.
Yeah.
It's all cool."
yeah.
Like,
They
that's
don't-
the way it is.
Yeah, they when they're next to each other, they are cool. There's no problem.
Nah, I think we get a few jabs in on
Yeah,
Mike. I mean,
they do that
like
on the
we
mic.
used to, you know,
Yeah.
like down in the dumps. Like,
We still do.
Hold on,
Yeah.
we are still talking about my. I don't want to talk about my show. This is your show.
no, but that's funny.
Yeah, I know,
It's
it
funny
was.
as fuck.
And-
It is brutal, Chris. I mean, like, I think for hours on end of how to make this guy's like. Really, he thought of that? That is fucking brutal.
pink cocaine.
And on a different
Yeah.
note, we're gonna take us into a subject, and this subject is derivative. What?
Derivative.
Yes.
It is derivative. So
Stop
our
using
first
big
one
words.
is actually what's
Yes.
that?
Stop using big words.
Yeah.
You don't know how many times I hear that.
All right, we got our first news story of the night. We got like 3 stories to go through. The first one is from CNN, and this is actually updated as of today. Crashed spacecraft may have left tiny but tough creatures on the moon.
That's bullshit. And it's on what?
It's on the
CNN?
moon. Like
No,
it
no,
was-
what-
they
the-
were on a spacecraft that
What
they came from Earth
A space.
and crashed into the moon, and now they're living there.
What's the details? What are these creatures?
Okay.
What do we send up there?
All right, so I'm going to try to read this the best I can because, like I said, this is a whole bunch of science
Right.
shit, and you know how I am with trying to even remember
You
how to
want
say
me
Narcan.
read it?
Huh?
You want me to read it?
No, it's part.
I'm the man of many
You
words.
Son of a bitch. Okay, so basically the article starts as thousands of tardigrades, known as water bears or moss piglets, were on board the Bereshit spacecraft when it crashed in the
Russian.
moon. Huh? Yeah.
Must be Russian.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. And this is basically what these things look like. They're like just tiny, microscopic kind of survival entities. You know what I
That
mean?
can't be real.
They say it's plausible.
That's microscopic.
Yeah, these things are like tiny creatures.
Tardigrades are pudgy little
First of all,
animals.
I
no
can't
longer
watch
than
this
a
photo
millimeter.
anymore, man. It looks disgusting.
It looks like something out of fucking Tremors.
Yeah, Right.
Here you go, guys. I don't know how video works with laptop screens, so Anthony, you tell me if this looks like shit or not. But these things look like something out of Tremors.
I've heard of these things before, though. Those could live for a long time. You could freeze them. I think I've heard of scientists actually unfreezing one that was almost 700 years old. I'm not really familiar on the story I read because it was probably about 2 years ago. But I read about tardigrades. They're like
Yeah?
they're the
Do they
survival
not
of
need-
survival.
do
They
they-
could survive out in fucking space for a day, be completely dehydrated, but you put water on them or you just get them a little oxygen, they come back to life. They
See,
they were
that's it.
researching these things just to for like.
And now I got to look in my bathtub all the time. And
no, these
You
are
know
like
what I mean?
these are like at Moss and like places like that, like by
Right.
the seabeds or like deep in the sea, and these things are being researched for maybe life longevity and other things. Like
they can basically go through a nuclear winter.
they could go through anything.
So these are like microscopic cockroaches, basically.
Well-
like these things can survive
Well,
through
water-based.
anything.
Well, tardigrade. Well, basically they can. You could kill them off, but like certain extremes, they could die. But they're the best survival creatures this planet has to offer.
Yeah. So do you think there's? You said they're being studied for like medicinal purposes.
Yeah,
and, like-
because they could survive almost anything, and you could bring them back to life, and there's something to study.
Oh,
in
so
that.
now we're gonna try to play God. Okay, I hear it.
yeah. So
Well, we've always tried to do that.
Yeah,
from
that's true.
day
like Chris
one.
was saying, that they're in moss or lichen, which are apparently plants of some kind. They survive in extreme environments, from like icy mountains to polar regions to like deep in the jungle. Like these things can survive anywhere. So these are like the cockroaches of a microscopic tiny fucking world or
They
whatever.
look like they can attach to your brain and start sucking your brain out. That's why it look,
like leech worms.
yeah, but in your brain. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, those-
not on the skin, but in the brain. They just look like they just suck and just keep sucking and
that kind of
I don't know.
parasitic horror movie kind of
Exactly.
shit.
Like,
You can get
oh.
worms in your brain too.
Oh well, look, that's
some-
what they look like.
Take some. Doctor gives you some steroids, they die.
So Chris,
I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that.
So, have you
not a doctor.
had any
not.
experience of this stuff? Because you obviously knew what these things were.
I mean,
I
I-
had never heard of them before. So,
Because
what-
when I have another group on Facebook called Think Tank, which is like an informational debate group, and we go over many scientific and political subjects, and that happened to be one of them. And I think, in a conversation with one of the members, and he was giving me all this information about tardigrades, because I shared a post saying that tardigrades is being used for longevity, and I wanted my community on Think Tank to really eat through that, dice it down, give me the fat out of it.
right.
And that's when the one member, let me remember what's
just
his
like
name.
me on camera. The
Yeah,
fat
I
man.
know. I won't quote him right now. I won't say his name, but he gave me all the information I needed about that. That's where I got all the information from, and I'm well studied in other topics. Not like I'm not deeply, an expert on them, but I know my
Right.
way around certain topics.
Well, we bullshit everything we can. Like, everything I'm learning about this is while Chris was talking, I was reading more of the articles because that's the way I operate,
It looked. First of all, the picture of that thing looks disgusting. It's like 6 arms. It looked like a brain sucking amoeba.
Oh gosh, that's not even the ugliest
No, I know it's
microscopic
not the
creep.
ugly- it's
Oh,
just-
it looks creepy as shit
Yeah,
though.
like now I'm gonna go to bed tonight, and that's gonna be a picture in my head.
Yeah?
Yes, I
Like,
already know
You're
it.
going to go to sleep and you're going to think that those things.
It's just
You know
sucking
what?
my brain
You know
out
what?
and grabbing onto me, like grabbing onto my brain and just sucking out, like a woman like a woman sucking my dick. Just grabbing a hole and just sucking away. I can say that, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think
right.
that's appropriate. I
Okay.
don't know. The producer hasn't told us to go
Yeah.
fuck ourselves yet, so that's always good. One of the things that I was thinking is, remember when you were a kid and you were like pressing on your eyes, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, and you would get like those little floaties.
I got one of those now.
They're always in
Is
the eye.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see one right now. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
coming from. Well, the light is not as bad, but yeah.
Yeah, and every time you try to look at it, it goes away. That little old gag. Like,
Yeah.
where are you going, Squiggly?
Like, yeah, maybe that's these things in your head already.
yeah, reminds me of.
Thank you very much. Now I can't go to sleep tonight.
That's
I gotta go to work tomorrow, and it's all your fault.
I know. What? You going to work is my fault?
No, me not going to work is your fault.
Oh well.
That too, because I can't. I'm not gonna be able to sleep with that sucking amoeba in my head.
You know it's really the Evan Williams that is gonna make you go to sleep.
So what's the more of the skinny on this thing?
Honestly, what they're doing is, like you said, is trying to find out if we can find medicinal purposes for these things. Because what they, in an even more focused looking at this, if you dehydrate them, they are dehydrated, but you can rehydrate them back to life. So that's where the medical thing comes into play, is that they're able to pull DNA from their cells and see how to regenerate like certain specific things. Like maybe there's the cure to Alzheimer's in this. Is like redeveloping the fucking brain and stuff. And at the same time, it looks as if it can bring other animals that have gone extinct is one of the kind of things that they're looking at
Oh
here.
yeah. So now we're gonna bring back the saber-toothed tiger. Thank you very much.
That would be so cool. We would have the rich people with saber-tooth tigers again.
Oh boy, rich people with saber-toothed tigers.
Oh boy, get him,
him.
Fifi.
Big ass.
I wonder how wide would a saber-tooth tiger have to open its mouth to really eat some with those big ass fucking canines? How wide? Like what use
I don't
would
think it
those
grows.
be?
I think it grows to right about here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Just enough where them jaws are wide enough.
I don't think they're cartoon.
Right. Yeah, that cartoon length is ridiculous. I don't
Yeah.
really think they were that big.
Yeah. I don't
The
think
only
so either.
reference to saber-toothed tigers and such that I ever learned was actually from a... What?
The Marvel Universe.
No, it was
Which
actually
one?
from a
the
metal
movie
band.
universe,
They would always talk about
movie or the
Sabretooth.
comic universe?
Marvel. Either one.
Oh, okay. Oh, Sabretooth, the fucking
Yeah.
X-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ahead.
so there was like a hardcore band called Sabretooth Zombie.
I've heard of it.
And that was the only. Yeah, and I'm sure you have Sabretooth Zombie. They were around for like a minute, and then they were gone. They were like, who's Monica Lewinsky?
I know who
Exactly.
she is.
You know, if we could,
Okay, that's bad.
Listen, I was
example.
around. See, I hate when you do that because now you make me feel old. Yes, I was there when Monica Lewinsky.
I was too.
Lewinsky was getting stroked, okay, and a little bit on the carpet, little one, and you know,
them Clinton days.
them Clinton days, boy.
Now she makes handbags. On to our next story of the evening, since we were able to cover that one pretty
Okay.
quickly.
You're welcome.
All
audience.
right. Yeah, totally just get to the good
I'm
stuff,
telling
right?
you.
You want the mean
First
potatoes?
episode, don't knock us.
Yeah, well,
What's
we're
the
good.
next thing up for topics? What's the
Sorry,
topic?
Anthony. We're going back.
Oh shit. What we
Except
doing?
this time it has to do with the Boy Scouts of America.
Huh?
Okay.
Boy Scouts of America have a pedophile epidemic.
Oh,
And they're hiding in hundreds
What-
amongst
is this
the
new
ranks.
You
news?
act like this is a new thing, yo. Anybody knew this? That's why I wasn't in the Boy Scouts. Anybody knew this back then.
But
It's
here's
just
the
like
di-
priests. Yo, come
But
on.
this statement is coming from a lawyer who's looking into it for criminal charges. Yeah, Chris is a pedophile. That's why he just raised his hand.
No, I'm just like, ooh.
No, I
I'm
was
not.
going with the pedophile thing too. Yo,
Okay.
no,
Yeah,
no, but
I think I need to reconsider your employment once all the call if that comes into play.
no, he's just joking. But
Yeah.
he's only joking.
Yeah,
However,
I mean, this has been a talked about story over and over and over again throughout the years. I mean, you also have the same thing with the Girl Scouts who has a dad in the troop. You know what I mean? Like that kind of silly shit. But I mean, this is the first time that the boys are actually talking about the pedophilia that happened to them throughout their entire time that they were in the Boy Scouts. And basically now they're pulling the Michael Jackson thing is basically we're going to talk
Right.
about it now.
But see, y'all gotta understand. You ever heard of a group called NAMBLA?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
NAMBLA was created from the pedophilia of both the priests and the Boy Scouts of America. That's where they were coming from originally. When they started really talking about, you know, men having sex with boys, and it was a bad thing, they created this group or this association was built from people that worked in the Scouts and worked in the church. That's where that came from.
I'm actually looking up what NAMBLA means to our listeners who don't know what it is.
Oh,
Which
NAMBLA.
is the National American Man-Boy Love
Love
Association.
Association, yep.
So it's some dirty like back-end Motel 6 kind of
It
creepiness.
was,
You know what I
yo,
mean?
South Park made it funny. It did.
Yeah. Did you ever see that?
Oh,
No, I don't
oh
watch
my
TV.
God! It was one of the best.
Basically, what happened on South Park is that you know how we have the Orlando Convention Center here.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is they rent out a Motel 6, their open business room, and basically have the convention there.
Oh.
But they tricked the people who were booking the room, and it was an entirely different organization that had the same acronym as NAMBLA.
It was
Oh,
fucking
no.
hilarious.
It was hysterical. But anyways, I mean, why can't we just stop these fucking pedophiles from getting into this at this point? Why is there not any action being done?
Well,
I mean, you can't always tell who is and who isn't a pedophile. I mean,
Right.
most of the time, people are. If you need a job, they're just gonna get the job. That's the first thing they're probably thinking of, and then all of a sudden, ooh, an added benefit. Or they're going in there, and these people are smart. And if you want to get to something, and you're like someone like that, and they're gonna get in.
and you got to also understand, and believe it or not, pedophiles, right, have one hell of a game. You know what I'm saying? They know how to sweet talk their ways into anything. Most of the pedophiles that you have ever heard of was some of the nicest people in the neighborhood, got along with everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Like
got
they were
along
the
with
model
kids.
citizens,
Like
right?
John
model
Wayne-
citizens, right?
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, that's I was just about to reference John Wayne Gacy, who is the one who also came through Florida. They caught him here. What was that?
don't
Gacy was the one who was the clown, right?
Yeah.
There was
When was that? Early '90s.
Oh, I think 80s, 70s, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't watch the guy. He was a dirtbag, but that's basically how it is.
Ted Bundy was the other one.
Ted Bundy, okay.
Ted
He
Bundy
was-
was the socialite who was able to pretend that he wasn't this
Right.
sexual deviant behind doors. You know.
Oh, he was a murderer. He was straight up murder. He didn't
But-
have sex with these women.
Yeah, but he
that's
was
true.
still being nice around. Everybody loved him. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, these pedophilia, serial killers, they're some of the nicest people. Some of these people even have families. Some of these pedophiles got they never touched their kids.
John Wayne Gacy had a
All
family,
right,
yeah.
never touched their kids. Never looked at another. When they're around it, they never looked at another child. It's when behind it, after the family goes to bed, and now he got the thoughts that, I want to touch this person, I want to do this.
Yeah,
That's how it is.
I actually watched a movie real recently that had like it took place in like the 70s, 80s, so we didn't have the cell phone evolution and all that kind of good stuff. And basically, it had Dylan McDermott as the dad, and he was like the Boy Scout crew chief. He was the head leader of that. He was really involved with the church, but really underneath the house was like a bondage room.
All right,
Like
see?
he was just like it's a horror movie. Don't get me wrong, it's a horror movie. Dylan McDermott is not actually a terrible fucking serial killer, all right?
Right.
I just want to say that to our listeners. You can still watch his movies. But man, it was terrifying how close you could actually feel to this being as real as humanly possible.
No.
It's like your best friend could be like that. You know what I mean? Like all these that's what
You
I'm
should
saying.
never look at anybody like that again.
No.
Because I almost got scared of him. See, now when I go home, I'm going to have the image of that thing in my face and then his image of him going, scary. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So while this thing is sucking on my brain, he's slicing my throat.
Well, you are in the cult.
Damn.
I mean, there's not exactly places here that are safe. You know what I mean?
He's got that weird dead face.
And then he got the black zombie T-shirt on. It's
Yeah.
like,
Then he could just put that cap lower, make him look like there's no eyebrows, like some weird ass serial killer dog.
and then he put on a white mask and he did it last summer.
Really? This motherfucker.
Oh, okay, I see. All right. Fuck you guys too. I won't even go into you guys because I'm so tired from burning Colombian poppy all day.
Oh, my God.
I don't feel the need to waste my
Did
efforts.
that happen today too?
Oh my God! Like
It was the
30
worst
messages, yo.
today because he just got back from Colombia.
Oh man, tell me how it was.
Oh my God, it was the worst, man. It was like I think it was about 50 messages. Them going back and forth, cling, 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 cling. That's all I have. All I kept saying. I don't even want. I'm done with that. I'm done.
All right.
You got a third story, man? Because
Yeah.
I do have a third story, but yeah, I'm not okay. So we actually talked about this on ETBH, but this focuses more on something else.
okay,
This goes to 8chan. The reason I'm bringing
Okay.
this up,
8chan?
8chan. Yes.
you
Now,
don't know what 8chan is?
okay,
Go ahead,
so
explain. He'll
so
explain.
this is a really interesting take because this story dives into a very weird and strange category. Because, all right, you've heard of 4chan.
Yes, I have.
What do you know about 4chan? Tell them. What do you know about 4chan?
Well, not much. It's just basically before you go to the deep web stuff, you get 4chan, and then that's where everything breeds from. All the memes, all your stories, 4chan.
That's what it is, basically. Now remember,
It is
before
the
4chan,
hub version. It is the pre-Reddit Reddit.
Yeah. Now remind
It is
you,
the
there
bowels
was
of
a
the
2chan before there was a 4chan.
Really?
Yeah, there was 2chan, then it was 4chan, and then it was 8chan. We're hoping someday it'll be 16chan. We don't know, but that's how he's absolutely right. It's basically a forum, like you said, where you can download videos. The first one they had, 2chan was created, I think, in Japanese or China or something like that.
2chan. From what I understand, and my wife explained it to me, because it started over there. It started
Right.
in Japan, and basically what the website was a way to share anime and manga. Is the way without having
Like
because
the
it had
government involved, right?
it had an anonymity to it, so they couldn't get copy written disagreements.
Right.
Okay.
So
it's
say
like,
you had a Sailor Moon that you had an interesting take on it. This was a way to share your art without getting scrutinized.
so
by
like deviant
others.
art.
Huh?
Like deviant art.
No, just fanfic, fan art, and
Oh.
stuff like that. What it was started was it was wholesome. It was just like it was MySpace for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the evolution of where things are now, and that's what 2chan was. And then you go into 4chan, and what happened is within 4chan is that they realized the whole bits of anonymity and everything like that, you could start being a little bit more expressive. So there became opinion chains on manga. There was books. There's just like Reddit, guys. If you've got some kind of interest, like for example, let's just podcasting. Okay, since we're all
Right.
podcasters here, say you really are focused on podcasting. There is a subreddit for podcasting specifically.
Right.
Audio, visual, does my beginning work, and you're getting like references and things like that. So it's a help desk area, and then there's podcasting groups, and then there's weed aficionados, and then there's Chris. Who's your favorite band? Just give me a fucking name. It was a
Led Zeppelin.
Okay, there's a Led Zeppelin where they share old photos and old kind of say they have pictures of the amps that Led Zeppelin used, or there's pictures of John Bonham doing his stuff on stage. It's just appreciation things, and that's what 4chan was.
Until it decided to become more political, more right wing, more racial bias, and everything like that. And the person who owned 4chan was getting tired of the negative stuff that was happening on his show, on his website, or his server, whatever you call it. So
It's
he
been passed
sold
around
it.
a lot.
Right. He sold it. Right. And then they were selling it. And whoever did, because of all the stuff that was going on in 4chan, somebody created 8chan to basically do exactly what 4chan and 2chan was doing, but with less restrictions.
And
4chan is really
with less restrictions.
Yeah,
on that?
because that's what happened with the shootings. The shooters was
Okay.
on
yes.
4chan.
He was on 8chan.
Oh, 8chan.
Go ahead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So basically, going back specifically to 4chan, because 4chan is 8chan is the development of 4chan.
Right.
So what 4chan is much like 2chan. It started with a positive purpose, and it's been skewed and manipulated and ripped through. The adult film industry became really big on 4chan. The restrictions and the absolute anonymity. Man, I'm gonna have trouble
And
saying
most
that.
people dick pics came from 4chan.
Yeah, like
This brings up an interesting question since
Sure.
the shooter did come from 8chan. Like a lot of people have been voicing this now. Do you agree with policing the internet? Do any of you do that?
the censoring of the internet.
No.
No,
I-
you don't
no.
agree?
No. Here's my issue with that. Right? And I hate to do politics, but we ain't
were
doing
gonna
it
get
up
there
until
anyways.
this point. We haven't done it up until this point. Right? All this stuff that was the internet is 30 years old if I'm correct.
Something
right?
like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Up until the last 5 years, all this stuff that's been happening was happening because of phones and everything like that. But the internet was been around when none of this was going on in the first place. If you start people always claim the slippery slope. Once you start saying this is illegal, then anytime somebody feels or deems that this is disrespectful, it's going to be illegal. So okay, first is, oh, we're going to do this because we don't like what we see on here. Then the next thing is watching somebody smoking a cigarette. Then it's this person drinking. Then this person this. And the next minute we ain't going to have no internet. We're going to be just like China. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to... They're going to control whatever we say or do on the internet. And if this is a free country or a free speech country, leave that alone. We already put a curtail on... They already put a curtail on what you can say on the radio. They already put a curtail on what you say on TV. So leave the one thing where you can do whatever you want on it.
It's like I mean, Chris, do you believe in censorship of the internet? I mean, honestly.
Well, personally, honestly, coming from a person who has to run Facebook groups and seeing what the microcosm is and how, I don't believe in full censorship, but I believe in control of a certain, not overarching like governmental control, but we need someone who's actually actively adminning things. Someone who's appointed and paid to do this.
So you're talking like, if I might intervene, something like a content monitor that Facebook currently uses say that there's tits on the internet.
Much better
You know what I
than
mean?
Facebook
Right.
uses.
Yeah, but can you believe that someone's fucking job is to look at all the nasty shit Facebook has to offer?
If they were paying me the money that Facebook paid me, I'd be doing that shit too.
yeah, I
You
think
wouldn't hear me arguing about nothing.
Yeah, nothing, man. They probably pay that dude good money.
80, 90 grand would shut me up. I'll be sitting there watching all the tick pics I can see. Dick pics, I'll be like, he can't get it no more. Now, you got to remember, when it comes to the content on Facebook, and I said there's a difference between net neutrality and a company.
Right.
The company has the right to do whatever they want to do with their on their ISP or their server. They have the right to do that. They own it. If I don't like what I see on there, I can take it off. The difference between that and net neutrality is that on the net, on the actual net, I should be able to do and say whatever I want to say. But if if I'm on this company's website and that company says I don't deem this as net, I don't like what I see on here, I'm going to take it away. They have the right to take it away. Right? They have the right to take it away. So that's that to me is what I think that the difference between the two. You should be if I run Google and I said on you doing on my website, I don't like what you said on Google, I'm taking it away. You have the right to do that.
Right.
And if I'm on the natural web and then I'm just talking on it, I should be able to post up there whatever I want to.
Right. And I mean there should be no one editing the content on the internet, quote unquote, the entire thing.
Right.
I do see the need for, say, people like the content monitors on Facebook, also the people who spend their days day in and day out, like with the CIA and FBI, obviously doing things to stop illegal activity on the internet. I see the purpose for that, but I don't see the purpose to take down someone's particular thoughts, even if they disagree with yours, even if they are the most hideous, awful shit that can possibly be spewed on the internet. It still has a place to be commented on and judged.
Right.
Because if not, then we have lost the one tool that we have as a species, because we have evolved to this. We didn't get here through. We got here through slow progression. I mean, when we started, it was analog everything. You know what I mean? It was a rotary phone, or it was passing messages in class, you know, because way before even the first IBM.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you're thinking that in the public, 30 years is really where this has evolved from. In 30 years, from like, say, 1987 to 1989, I think was the first like real hardcore intranet, which kind of like developed for businesses servers, you know, because every company always had an intranet, which means an in-house system versus an internet, which is a wide, you know, I don't want to get into specifics of the internet, but there was always a version of the internet. It's just it wasn't globally accessible
until 1990.
Yeah, I mean we had cell phones in the 80s. They were called car phones.
So what's going on with 8chan right now?
So 8chan is basically, specifically, I wanted to talk more about the internet side. But the reason why 8chan has, I didn't even know 8chan existed prior to the recent events that happened on Sunday. Because what's his fucking name? Who doesn't need to even be?
I don't even know his name.
It doesn't even matter. Basically, he put his murder manifesto basically on 8chan. That was his. I'm gonna do this. This is my manifesto.
Right. That's
and
what
just
he did.
like every other fucking crooked-sided moron is doing the same thing. They did it on 4chan. You know what I mean?
That's what
that interconnected Newfound, I think it was New Zealand, right? Where they just had you and I, you remember that, right? When we were talking about that, the synagogue shooting, and the
mosques,
the mosque shooting, and how he had like it was like almost watching a COD video, like a Call of Duty video.
I saw you that. I sent you that.
You sent it to me, and that was the first time I'd ever seen like a mass shooting taking place. That wasn't edited by the media.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was like a fucking live stream of straight murder. And I couldn't believe how unaffected by it I was. I mean, I mentally knew what was happening. Yeah, but it was just like, it didn't affect me. And that fucks with me right now. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that 8chan is the updated version of 4chan, and now it's being shut down.
Yeah.
The owner said, no, I am not going to promote this kind of ideology of misogynistic, whether misogyny, racial, absolute hatred.
You know what I'm about to say, right?
Go ahead.
First of all, this dude, and I'm going to tell him, and I hope he's watching this, you're full of shit. All right? Because all this stuff was going on your 8chan way before this shooting and everything went down. He had no problem with the rhetoric and everything that was going on prior because he's probably getting paid and making money off of it. The moment this happened, now all of a sudden, he's not a part of it. They were doing this beforehand. 8chan was the reason why all this was happening in the first place because they couldn't do it on 4chan. They went to 8chan to do it.
So they evolved from 4chan to 8chan. Okay.
So they were doing this before then. Now that everybody is so-called, upset at what happened in the last weekend, now all of a sudden they don't have a problem. It's like saying Trump saying, "Oh, I hate Mexicans," and then when a bunch of Mexicans die, he feel bad about the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? You knew all this stuff was happening beforehand, had a problem, didn't have a problem with it. Now that this happened, all of a sudden I got to wash my hands of it.
Right.
You're full of shit.
And this is the reason why we're talking about this, is because now is the time to talk about this shit.
Right.
Like, you're coming off of a terrible event. 2 terrible events. 3, if you actually account the one in Chicago.
And
which
4,
is not making news.
The Garlic Festival.
And there was
as well.
one more. There was another
The Garlic
guy.
Festival. Yeah. When was the Garlic Festival?
That was almost in the same time span.
Right.
Was it, okay, it was El Paso.
But that was I think they were
Was that
talking
in
about that was a gangland shooting with that one. I don't think it was necessarily I don't remember.
I'm sorry.
I don't know
I'm going to go back to the argument that if the weapon discharged multiple times,
I'm not saying it's not a mass
shooting.
I'm not saying it's not mass. I just think that was more gang related. But I'm not saying it wasn't a mass shooting. Not to mention, there was a dude that his grandmother called the FBI on to tell him he was about to do a mass shooting. And that was supposed to have been done over the weekend too, but the cops stopped that one. Yes. So there was a kid whose mom, he was 21 years old. His grandmother called the FBI to tell him he was about to do the same thing that was happening, and the cops arrested him. So they had caught him before he did it.
So we got it. You know what I mean? Like, we saw enough red flags on that one that somebody decided to stand up.
Somebody
and do
saw
something,
said
about
something, right?
But basically, the one that took place in a bar, El Paso was the one in Walmart, right?
That's the one in Walmart, right?
Okay, and Dayton was the one in the bar, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What I saw today is that basically it shows I saw an article that basically shows the Dayton shooter going in an hour before and hanging out with his sister and a friend. And then he kills his sister. Like, that's how fucked up this shit is. Like, dude, if you are struggling with life and you are so messed up that you can't figure out a way out, dude, seriously, go get some help. Don't believe everything you read on the goddamn internet. I mean, seriously, if you're in trouble mentally, go reach out and help somebody.
That's different. I mean, you can't. That's why these mass shootings happen, is because they're not willing to do any of that. Most of the time, there's a certain point where these mass shootings take place. It's a moment before clarity where they're right at that point where it's going to happen. It's almost like when you commit suicide. The moment you're about to commit suicide is the moment you don't think about it. That's where these people are at. They're not in that headspace like you think. They're not going to help nobody.
No,
they
but
can't even tackle the deepest questions of life, let alone their own questions of themselves. So they take it out on everybody else.
1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months before, you can tell someone who knows what's going on with themselves can figure out a way to help themselves, some way, shape, and form. It is possible. I mean, if you're mentally, give me a word. I'm going to say something I'm not supposed to. If you're mentally inept,
okay,
from being able to rationalize,
I don't know.
Then you should already. Some people should already know about your state of mind.
I don't think most of these mass shootings are due to mental illness either. I mean, that's another.
Do you think it's the ideology that they read on 8chan?
No.
Or
No.
Religious extremism? Or
No.
no,
No.
Okay,
Cowards.
give it to me. Huh?
cowards. The reason why they doing this is they doing it for fame.
So
I
That's
agree.
all it's all about. It's fame. Before I go, because I'm already don't like myself, right? Because I'm doing all this stuff has now been done either by the media, by the internet, or social media. Before, you would have never heard. Before all these killings happened, right? None of this was going on because the media wasn't covering it. Nobody cared about it. Nobody heard about it. Nobody said anything. The moment the media started getting really involved in it, everybody started doing mass shootings because I want to get my name in the paper. That's why they took remember they started taking out the suspects' names off out of the news altogether,
right?
So they wouldn't get the fame that they weren't. But in the beginning, everybody's name was in it.
Right.
And they couldn't wait for that.
And I noticed something through the progression of American history and, say, going back to 1999 and going back to Columbine. You know what I mean? That used to be the reference point. That used to be the identifying point of where shootings have always happened. Mass
Right.
shootings have always happened. But when we look back, we can always tell that when we reference to the beginning, it was always Columbine. And that's not the case anymore. Now we reference to Sandy Hook. Because that had to do with children.
That. I think we've gone beyond that because now it's not even funny anymore.
No, it's
It was never
disgustingly
funny, but
overdone.
no. It was never funny, but I mean, it's just like before you be like, this happened. This is the worst shooting since this, the worst shooting since that. I can't believe they doing this. Now it's just another mass shooting.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm
just
saying?
another day. It's
And
just
that-
another day in America.
That brings up a funny point that you say that. My friend says because my friends, two friends, again, I'm not going to say any names, they were talking about this very subject, and one of my friends was really upset about this because it reminded her of the Pulse incident.
Right.
And
Right.
it
Which we
triggered
are
some
an
people-
Orlando-based podcast, so we
know
all
about the
have
Pulse, right.
We've
lost
all-
something in that.
Yeah, we all were affected. The city was scarred by that event.
Right.
We're permanently scarred, and she had a traumatic effect from it. And she was asking my other friend, "How do you feel about all these mass shootings happening?" And he's like, "I'd hate to say it, but I'm numb to it."
Right, because
know?
it's happening on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? It's like living in the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All the shootings happen. So many shootings happen. You be like, bang, bang, bang. You look around, be like, oh, somebody got shot. They're going about the business or whatever else you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And then it's sad to do that and it's sad to say that, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? We just don't care anymore.
The numbness is just the way it is. You know what I mean? Because eventually, if you overreact with the human mind, it eventually gets tired.
Yes.
It gets tired of processing the same repetitive information over and over again.
And
you know what I mean?
If you
we've
keep and
created
expecting a
stigma.
different response, right? Because you're crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
the reason why we're affected right now is because 2 shootings happened within
Right, that
12 to 24 hours of
That's
each
the
other
reason why it's
in
big.
entirely two different places.
All done by 8chan, all through 8chan. So they saying that's where the connection is, and that's why it's such a big thing this time around. But 3 weeks from now, we have another mass shooting.
Oh no! Like
You know,
next
you gonna
Tuesday,
go, right? You gonna go
we've
through the whole
scheduled
family
it on
thing, and then
CNN.
it's done.
Don't
right.
worry, we've got enough
Yeah.
block time.
I hope no other mass shootings happen.
I
know,
hope so.
that-
I mean, we don't want the tragedy to happen, but
No.
Knock
But
on
I-
wood.
but
You know
I-
what I mean?
I'd
No
be
more
the-
death, guys. Let's just honestly say this.
Die of
Let's
old
just
age.
do a wrap up right here because take care of each other. Stop doing all this negative shit to each other. Treat each other with respect. I know on a personal level it's hard to deal with some people sometimes, but really if you just talk to someone you wouldn't normally talk to and get their opinion and their side of things, maybe we would all be a little better off if you
go.
just had a goddamn discussion with somebody instead of shooting up a Walmart.
And one more thing, it might actually benefit a lot of people to listen to people that annoy you, because just in the off chance they say something that might save your life.
or here's a better thing: listen and watch the podcast.
Thank you.
Get your mind off of everything.
Yeah,
we're
I mean, we're a bunch of silly, dumb assholes, and all we do is we pretend to know what we're doing the best way we possibly can. None of us are perfect. No one here is perfect.
but remember to read a book.
Yes.
They forgot about that one.
Read a book.
So when you go on these websites and you see this aggressive bullshit, tell somebody. If you don't think that you're able to take care of this issue, contact someone who might be able to.
Yeah.
And
Like
if
the
you
police.
personally are struggling as someone, if you're watching this, mass shootings, suicide, all of it isn't a way out. It's just a quick goodbye. And guess what? You're already forgotten. Your shooters' names are already forgotten.
Sorry,
All
if
you
you
did
think-
was open Pandora's box to fix the shit you did so it doesn't happen again.
And if you think about doing that, anybody watching that, fuck you, man. Don't come on. Like, are you really gonna try to do that to people around you who couldn't care about you? They
Why
can't.
would you
They
even
can.
Look, why would you look for fame when they kill you? You're dead. You ain't gonna be able to enjoy it. So shut up. Stop.
Yes. Get outside, read a book, get a hobby.
Get
all
a
right?
basketball. That's what my mother told me.
Even better.
I think basketballs are now too expensive for us to buy. We need to buy it on loaner.
Or
I mean, pawn
Amazon.
shops sell basketball now. So
Hey,
that's where we are.
Walmart's got them cheap,
There you go.
$24.49.
All right, we got to wrap this up. Eric from
Eric.
Holy shit! There's
Who
not
the hell
even
is
Eric
Eric?
in the room. All right, that was a real fuck up. See what happens. The difference in live, like that would never happen on the real.
Anyways,
show.
Anthony Smith of Entering the Black Hole.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the One Salty
Thank y'all
Cult.
for having me.
Yes. And Aaron Sadargis, are you going to properly outro us now?
Yes, I am. Chris is from the Experience with Chris Fio coming out in February 2020. On the side note of that, no Trump 2020.
Hell no.
The only thing that you should be looking forward to in 2020 is your political candidate winning, which is not Trump, and Chris's podcast.
Yes. Stay tuned.
The Salty Aaron Show has, ironically, his fucking show coming up next. We also want to give a shout out to our wonderful new video option that we're offering to listeners, Amplified Networks. And Anthony's been sitting over there listening to me bullshit for an hour, and it's probably the first time on his network anybody said fuck.
And don't forget to tune in to Funny to Informant at 8 p.m. tomorrow. 7. I'm so sorry. Our producer just... Yes. Don't forget to tune in to Funny to Informant at 7 p.m. tomorrow.
With personal friends of me and Ants, Chris Coleman and John Hannon.
Yeah.
They are going to make you fucking roll. They are hilarious.
So stay tuned for more episodes from the One Salty Cult.
All right, yeah.
Okay.